All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is week 2 of the last fiscal quarter. And here pretty much during this program, we focus on American descendants of slavery. My name is Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Alligator as well as Chief Quietwater. We'll go ahead and start with the 12 steps read by Chief Alligator.
Okay, American descendants of slavery, 13-week practical program of action for each American descendant of slavery. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, who established that estate. Step 3, what nation and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organization you attend, what's your position on reparations? Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then immediately children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3. And field trips to ADOS landmarks in that city, county, and state. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash, spend money with American Black businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and our operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 10, the United States government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American descendants of slavery no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Have them learn about an American inventor. Have them know about our heroes. They should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to European invasion, militarily and culturally. Step 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming America and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Every estate American descendants of slavery live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause.
All right, thank you, Chief Alligator. Next, we'll go ahead and have Chief Quietwater read off the inventor for this week.
Okay, so the inventor for this week is Charles Orren Bailiff. That's Charles Orren, O-R-R-E-N, last name Bailiff. He invented the shampoo headrest. You guys wouldn't know, but when you go get your hair washed at a beauty salon, when you lay back in the sink, he's the one who invented the sink with the little indenture for your neck. There was not a lot of information about him. He was from Kalamazoo, Michigan. The patent number was 612008. The patent date was October 11th, 1898. And that's all.
Excellent one, excellent one. And I think the question that we always like to ask, what percentage of our people actually own that or run that industry?
No.
No, okay.
No, it's primarily ran by the Asian community.
Gotcha. Thank you again for that, Chief Quietwater. I'll go ahead and read the quote for this week, and I think it'll be a good segue into what we'll be getting into as far as the first half of the hour. Quote here is quote number 6 from Dr. Woodson. Leadership is usually superimposed for the purpose of directing the course of the ostracized group along the same lines. This was accomplished during the days of slavery by restricting the assembly of Negroes to certain times and places and compelling them to meet in the presence of a stipulated number of the whitest and discreetest men of the community. These supervisors of the conduct of Negroes would prevent them from learning the truth, which might make them unruly or ambitious to become free. And that is quote 6 from Dr. Woodson. And again, I think that's going to be a good segue into what we'll be getting into in the first half. Next, we'll have Chief Alligator read the legal definitions.
All right, let me pull these up real quick. Okay, legal definitions. First definition, American, a native of America. Second definition, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Third definition, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Fourth legal definition, prisoner of war, a person, usually a soldier, who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Fifth legal definition, school, any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. And the sixth legal definition, education, an enlightening experience.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you again, there, Chief Alligator. Next, or lastly, I'll read the 5 historical maroon points. All right, number 1, was a person escaping slavery seeking freedom or breaking the law? Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, Maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. And number 5, Maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans. So those were the 5 historical Maroon points. And as we usually do, we'll go ahead and jump into the Constitution just to continue to reiterate that the current quote unquote money is not actual money, it is actual fiat. And we're going to continue to break that down until it works. I'm just going to share my screen. All right. Can everybody see?
Yep.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's good on your end, Chief Alligator?
Well, it's blank, but it says that you have started sharing the screen.
Okay, okay. Should y'all give me, y'all let me know once it pops up. I know my thing is running a little slow.
No problem.
There you go.
Excellent. All right, here's section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Again, we continue to reiterate and continue to state that the only thing that can pretty much be issued to pay debts is, again, as far as constitutionally, is again gold and silver. So anything else is pretty much not going to pay any debts off. Again, the Gold Standard Act was established in 1971, and that's when the actual money, constitutionally, gold and silver was taken out of the government, taken out of the system. So again, as far as these IOU notes, this paper money that we currently have, it's all backed by nothing. So again, why do we continue to play this game of Monopoly with this system? It's something we have to continue to ask ourselves. Right, and we're going to jump down to Article 6, back out a little bit. All right, and again, another thing that we like to continue to reiterate is that treaties are the supreme law of the land. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, and anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So again, treaties are the supreme law of the land. And as we saw in the last fiscal quarter, as far as the two treaties that we read, which were the Treaty of Payne's Landing and the Treaty of Moultrie Creek, we see that our ancestors contracted with the military. If you go back on those videos, you'll notice that none of the quote unquote we the people who actually came up with the actual Constitution actually signed off on those. So again, that just reestablishes that prisoner of war statement that we continue to make, that we are pretty much under military occupation, and that we did contract with their military, which would have made us prisoners underneath that. So again, just to continue to reiterate, the treaties are the supreme law of the land. Go ahead and stop sharing my screen. All right. And pretty much what we wanted to do today is go ahead and address some things internally as far as with our family. This week, it was brought to our attention that Dr. Claude Anderson is in fact an American. What we'll show you right here is a YouTube video of him actually divulging that information, actually knowing that he's Cherokee as well as his Dawes roll numbers. So you might ask, what does that have to do with pretty much our video? But not only that, what does that have to do with the narrative that he's been preaching for so long, as far as the slave narrative out of Africa, powernomics, things of that nature? If we were to understand how powerful that is to reclaim your nationality, and knowing that you are Cherokee, you are of this land, what that can do for you, not only mentally, but financially as well, then you'll start to ask questions. Okay, why wasn't this information ever disclosed? Why do you continue to say, oh no, we were slaves, when in fact you have proof that you are indeed an American? So without further ado, I'll go ahead and play the clip for you all, just to let you know that we are making this stuff up. We have evidence to back up everything that we are saying. All right, can y'all see? Is it viewable on y'all screen, Chief Alligator and Chief Quietwater? Okay, got you. Play this. Now we are at the 48-minute mark.
He has such sympathy for Black folk, and he would be a good person to take it over. So he was the first person that appointed to take over Howard. He said because Howard would be the only institution. See, all these other schools that you're talking about, they came up there, some white mulattoes and semi-whites. I guess I would follow that category. Again, my family was mixed with Indian and Black, and that's why I got Cherokee numbers, for the Dawes Commission. I can give you the numbers 1123, 1124, which means that means that on the Dawes rolls for the Indians. But I think they're terrible, and I have no interest in them because what they did to Black folk. Slavery could not have existed without Indians' full participation and support. They were the ones who chased Black folk down, got paid money to keep Blacks enslaved. They were the slave traders, the slave owners, and the fought with the South to keep the slavery, maintain slavery. Howard, on the other hand.
So I'll go ahead and repeat that again, just to let you all hear it again, make sure it sticks that we aren't making this up. He disclosed this information himself. I guess you guys can see it was no question prompted by Dr. Watkins here in regards to his nationality, his status. This was pretty much all voluntary. But immediately after he stated that he was Cherokee, you can see how he immediately kind of bashed his own ancestry, his own ancestors at the same time. We know through the documents that we've read that a lot of our I guess you could say, ancestors as well had slaves because they had to buy back their family. We saw that in the Yamasee War, they were actually raiding, taking back their own family, things of that nature. And it's not to say that any of the things he said were untrue, that some also just had it for the financial gain as well. But the key here is that he identified himself as having Cherokee American blood. Cherokee American blood. So why hasn't this been something talked about? And as far as powernomics, as we can see here, the economic benefit of claiming that nationality. Because we know that when you claim your nationality as a Cherokee, you are tax exempt. And correct me if I'm wrong there, is that you do get tax exempt documents as far as, you know, once you become or reclaim your nationality as an American Indian or American Native. Is that correct, Chief Alligator?
That's correct. We anticipated this when we launched out on this journey of truth. I want to first say we're going to be emotionally mature about this because one of the things when you start to see how we've been prisoners of war for so long, and when you start to understand that the only way you can be in this position is not only are you under European military occupation, you also have people of your bloodline, of your lineage, who have partnered or made personal contracts, just like those that are in Oklahoma. They went for personal gain, 200, 300 at a time, set up shop, act like these de jure nations that were.
Up there a little bit, Chief Alligator.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Did I break up?
No, I could hear you fine. It seems.
Okay. Now, I was just saying that we have to be emotionally mature and understand that probably 9 out of 10 quote unquote scholars that we've been listening to our whole adult life, 9 out of 10 of them have probably claimed their nationality, and then they turn around and tell you that you were a slave. And this is a good example that you played this recording because Dr. Claude Anderson has American lineage and his bloodline comes from the Cherokee Nation. So what Negroes or prisoners of war, Black, colored, Afro-American have to understand is people, groups of people make up nations. Calling yourself Black means you're nationless. Right. So the question, one of the questions I would have for Dr. Claude Anderson is, why would you write books that we're all slaves when you know that you aren't a slave?
Right.
That would be my first question.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you write books and say we all came across the Atlantic when you know in your own personal story that that's not true? So here I see an attempt for him making a confession. I think people are waking up that we're American, and I think he's getting ahead of it. He's going to get in front of it. And so I would ask him out of respect. I have his Black History Reader book. It's a lot of great information in there, but he needs to do a video, or I would suggest that he does a video on how he found out what his dolls numbers were for his ancestors, because there's a lot of us on this land that can reclaim our nationality. So before you paint this picture that we all was on a boat, now that you've admitted that you're American and the people on this channel know we're American, why don't you come out and do a video with Dr. Boyce on how you can get out of Black status and find out, are you from West Africa, or are you a prisoner of war and you got denationalized when your family sold you out and went into Oklahoma under the treaties with the military? I'll stop there. You want to build on that?
And it seems like what these like you said, these scholars are doing, they're acting as agents like they did, you know, during those war times and during the the migration to the west of the Mississippi, they would bring someone who was basically working both sides of the table. Basically, they knew what the Europeans wanted. However, they were communicating with the natives, telling them another thing for their own gain. So it's no different than what he's doing. And other scholars are doing that, know that our narrative is it does not directly link us to Africa. It directly links us to this land. So it's definitely exposing. Maybe he didn't mean to say it, maybe he didn't think people were listening, but it definitely exposes a lot.
For sure. And like you said, I think it was something that was just probably subconscious. As the alligator said, just subconsciously trying to get that off of his heart, off of his mind, to kind of confess. But when you have your eye open, your ears open as well, it won't go past you. I know it went over a lot of people's heads exactly what I said within that minute. But that minute is probably worth more than the rest of the hour-long video. Especially in regards to what he has been teaching us through, economics, powernomics, the power of, nation building, pretty much, establishing your own for yourself. And that is key in, identifying your nationality. Just simple example is that tax exemption. You're not paying any taxes to this government because of you reclaim your nationality. That in itself is an economic power. So I would have to do my homework to see if that is something within the Powernomics book, but I pretty much doubt it is, because it wouldn't go along with the narrative that has been getting taught. And that's kind of what I wanted to choose that number 6 quote of Dr. Woodson, because he pretty much unveiled it all to us, how it would pretty much be, how the playbook would play out, how the plays would play out. They would pretty much give us these superimposed leaders for a certain purpose, to teach us a certain thing. And then of course, if we become knowledgeable, if we become aware of the truth, we might become unruly and want to actually seek freedom. Just reclaiming that nationality is key in doing so. And it's very key in doing so. Go ahead.
Because we're here now. So part of warfare, sometimes it can surprise you who your enemies are. And when they say your enemies are the closest people to you, anytime a preacher, a scholar, or a politician is talking at prisoners of war or quote unquote Black people as if they're not Black, you understand? And again, I have his literature, but if you pay attention to the way Dr. Claude Anderson talks, it's like he talks at Black people as if he's not Black. And that's a key indicator when you're listening to these people. Most of your Black Congressional Caucus members that are from this land, it would be safe to say that they've nationalized. They don't pay tax to the United States government because they're citizens of another nation. Your high-end preachers, your high-end superstars. And so what we have to do is we have to wake up and open our eyes and realize that they know. But we're in a season now, after that 400-year curse in 2019, we're in a season right now where it's time to uncover, discover, and then throw away the stuff that we don't need. And so again, that was powerful what he said, but he needs to go a step further. I would like to see, he doesn't have to do anything, but I would love to see, since he's already made an attempt to do restitution or amends to this group of people, because basically what you just said is, I'm not a slave.
Correct.
That's not my story. That's when he's got Dawes roll numbers, that means he's an American.
Correct.
So how are you an American? So are you saying that you're the only American, Dr. Claude Anderson, and everybody else came on a boat?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So now the question needs to be, okay, why don't you do a video and walk us through the steps of how we get back to the Dawes roll so we can see for ourselves how many people are actually American versus how many people can't go back or can't find themselves on this Dawes Roll or through the Freedmen's Bureau. Because we already know that Europeans were the Slavs or the slaves coming across the Atlantic, coming into Europe. So we know that every last one of them came on a ship, but nobody never accounts for them coming across the Atlantic. So this number of millions of quote unquote Black people coming across the Atlantic, I'm gonna say factually, it's a lie. Most of us are here and we were denationalized, those that didn't go on the Trail of Tears. Anybody else?
Correct. No, it definitely go ahead, Chief Whitewater.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Now I was gonna say he definitely, I would like, as far as since he already divulged his information, to go ahead and tell us the steps. How did you, find out you were American? What were the steps he took to find out, your ancestry in the Dawes Rolls? What is the financial, economic impact of doing so? Since again, your whole, I would not say not only claim to fame, but most of the time when they bring up Claude Anderson, you bring up Powernomics. How does that, go hand in hand with you reclaiming your nationality as a Cherokee? These are things that we need to know, because I'm pretty sure majority of the people that you are talking to, your audience, have the same story. They have family that can be traced back to the Dawes Rolls, and not just this narrative of being brought over here as captive Africans and being put on these plantations, which we know are prisoner of war camps. Because it has to be done. It has to be done.
I'll go.
And he would be able to touch a lot of people because he has such a large following, and a lot of people respect him and what he has been doing for all of these years. So why not share the information so that people know? I mean, why are we hiding behind this information when we know the truth?
I'll go one step further with that. This is a prime example of moving forward. Those of us that are prisoners of war, when anybody gets in front of us to tell us anything, we need to find out, who are you? Where do you come from? Where's your mom from? We need to do steps 1, 2, and 3 on anybody who gets in front of us. This is a prime example. It's about this man 30, 40 years ago.
Exactly.
That he was an American.
Exactly.
That man looked just like my grandparents. That man could look like an older version of you, Chief Biko. So you need to start vetting these people who get in front of you. Who are you? Where you come from? Where your mama from? Where your grandmama from? What tribe, what nation you from?
What did Kendrick Lamar say? Where your grandma stay? Where your grandma stay? Pretty much. You have to be vetting these people, like you stated. For how long has he been in front of the public eye? Right. Jimmy Carter being part of his candidacy, presidency. I think you stated earlier, like a part of the Board of Education for Florida. So you're part of that, and you aren't teaching our people about ourselves or having any input. Now you seem like as Chief Quietwater said, an agent, but at this point, a super agent.
Right.
This map behind me, nobody growing up going to school in Florida knows anything about the Seminole Wars. So, and I was in school when he was over Board of Education.
Wow.
And again, we're not gonna put him on a cross and crucify him. But what we do have to ask our elders that are willing to come forward and right their wrongs is, okay, confess, keep it real with us. Now show us the way, right? Because we know it because we're walking it out. But like Chief Quietwater said, you got a bigger platform. So you need to explain to people how they can pull up census records and how they can take that number and take it to the Dawes Roll. You need to come out and you need to be honest with the people that you are American. Your bloodline descends from the Cherokee Nation, the de jure Cherokee Nation. In the Creek Confederacy, which is in the southeast region of North America. Right. This Cherokee Nation that's in Oklahoma, That's not the original Cherokee Nation. That's American history. Deal with it. But yeah, you need to come out and you need to be honest with it. And again, there's going to be a lot of other people who we're going to have our mouths open that in secret claim their nationality, get a tax exempt status, and then turn around and promote something different to the people. Give him a pass right now because he said what he said. Now it just needs to be built upon. We need more detail about the Dawes role. What's your schooling show you, or your education, Dr. Claude Anderson? What is your education about the Dawes role? See, because when you start talking about how you know you're American, now you got to get off the slavery narrative and you got to get into the wars, which is read treaties. The idea that the Americans were not fighting is a lie.
Right.
Thousands of treaties that we can read. We can be reading treaties for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's gonna, now the downside is that debunks his business model, because he's you know, it's been portrayed as slavery. And what happens on plantations, but now we know, and I want to correct myself for the world. I used the word plantation in our first video on July 4th. I stand corrected now. Those were not plantations. Those are prisoners of war camps. Our ancestors were not on plantations. Our ancestors were military occupied. Those were POW camps where our ancestors was picking cotton, tobacco. Let me get my language right as we move forward. No such thing as a plantation. This whole working for free, this was forced by the military.
Forced labor.
Yeah.
Forced labor. And again, as Chief Alligator alluded to, this isn't to crucify Dr. Claude Anderson. He has done a lot for our people, but this is a very important topic that needs to be discussed, especially since he brought it up himself.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
I don't think it was any prompted questions asked by Dr. Watkins. I know they usually do a weekly, if not more than that, show together. So now, since you've opened that door, let's go into Pandora's box. Let's see exactly what that means to identify yourself on those Dawes roles, identify yourself as an actual American. And if you are an actual American, then who are these so-called white Americans? Who are they? Because now you're opening up even more doors. So we need to, you know, first clean up house, you know, pretty much what just reading something today, and when we deal with the enemy within, we won't have to worry about the enemy without. So we have to deal with, you know, what's going on within our own community, understand why you haven't divulged this information, and not only you, but others like you who are in these prominent positions haven't divulged their nationality. Why is that? We need to unpack some shit within the community before we start pointing fingers.
It's a rabbit hole.
Pretty much.
You want to jump into, do you want to get a little bit of that treaty going?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get into that. Go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And we are on the Gibson one.
Correct.
Okay.
My alarm just went off, so it's 7:40. So we got a good 15, 20 minutes to build real quick.
Okay, perfect.
Wanted to touch on that. It's going, man. It's a lot of these scholars out here, bro. What you think, Chief Quietwater, about that?
I mean, I'm on board with what you guys are saying. I just think that why keep it a secret? Let him be like Chief Biko just said, he opened up the door and the invitation to share the information, whether he meant to or not. Why not teach people? The information is there and is easily attainable, just like we were able to, you know, dibble and dabble, but there may be an easier way for people to get this information. It's not as hard as people think it is.
Correct. A Treaty of Fort Gibson. Putting that up here.
Rabbit hole definitely goes deep.
Let's see what this one here. Did we have the actual treaty or was it on that Seminole War Heritage
No,
Trail?
yeah, we have the actual treaty.
Okay. Let's see. What is this thing? Let me back up here. My files.
Let me help you out while this. It should be in that very first fiscal quarter emails from earlier this year.
Let's see this one.
Y'all bear with 1 second. We are trying to get everything aligned.
Okay, I think I have it here. It's just underneath my treaty with the creeks, but I see it's here 1833.
Okay.
Okay, let me start from it because they got it kind of upside down. What is this? Part 1. Okay. The creeks. Okay, here we go. Share my screen. All right. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit.
Trying to get it to the beginning.
Because it has it here, because in the beginning it kind of starts off right here in the middle of Article 5.
Okay.
So I think this would be Article 1 starting here.
But you want to scroll back up, go up a page, go up one more, right there. That's the beginning of it. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just make it a little bit bigger if you can so people can see. Looks like your zoom is at the bottom based on your magnifying glass. You see the plus and minus sign on your.
Blocking it with the share thing. Okay, here we go. All right, it's better. Jump back over here. All right, it should be better. Can you all see it?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. We'll start here then at the preamble. Go ahead.
At the very, go right above the preamble. Yep.
Articles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Treaty with the Creeks, 1833. Be more specific, February 14th, 1833. Articles of agreement and convention made and concluded at Fort Gibson between Mount Fort Stokes, Henry L. Ellsworth, and John F. Shermanhorn, commissioners on the part of the United States and the undersigned chiefs and headmen of the Muskogee or Creek Nation of Indians or Americans, this 14th day of February, 1833. Whereas certain articles of a treaty were concluded at the city of Washington on the 24th day of January on 1836 or 1826 by and between James Barber, Secretary of War, on behalf of the United States, and the chiefs and headmen of the Creek Nation of Americans, by which it is agreed that the said Americans shall remove to a country west of the Mississippi River. And whereas the 6th article of said treaty provides as follows, that a deputation of 5 persons shall be sent by them, the Creek Nation, at the expense of the United States immediately after the ratification of the treaty to examine the country west of the Mississippi, not within the limits of the states or territories. So first and foremost here, Let's see.
You read us?
Yeah, it's reading to me as they're pretty much going to be moving the Creek Nation west of the Mississippi. They're going to be sending out 5 of the Creek's own to examine the land to see if it's hospitable or able to be lived on. It looks like prior to that, actually after that, well, prior to the ratification, they're going to have them send out these Creek Americans to examine the land. That way, once they get back, they're going to immediately ratify it for that. It also stood out here too that they're in the city of Washington within 1826. I know prior to, I believe, the capital being in DC, it was in Philadelphia, if I'm correct. So it seems like they moved the capital southward to the city of Washington here.
Okay. Can you highlight that first part, whereas, and go all the way to where it says, and the chiefs and headmen of the Creek Nation of Americans? Yeah. Okay. So whereas certain articles of a treaty were concluded at the city of Washington. First of all, Washington is supposed to be a district, not a city. Right?
Correct.
On the 24th day of January, 1826. By and between James Barber, Secretary of War, on behalf of the United States, and the chiefs and headmen of the Creek Nation of Indians. Why is this important? They're telling you that this treaty was done, if you want to say correctly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the we the people, the Secretary of War, is signing on behalf of the government.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 treaties, nobody from the government signed it. It was strictly military, and it said it was separate and apart from the United States. Y'all remember that?
Correct.
So what we see right here is the Creeks sold out. Out of the 5 civilized tribes, we can see here the Creek went privately to the city of Washington and contracted directly with the United States government. The Seminole didn't. The Seminole contracted with the military. So the Creek already knew what the play was going to be. The Creek already knew what the play was going to be. Y'all with me?
Yeah. And that's important to know that too, because we saw in the last treaty that the Seminole would be, I guess, combined with the Creek Nation, if I'm correct.
Correct. They're going to lump them together in Oklahoma when they get to Oklahoma. But Colonel Gadsden was the one that signed the Treaty of Payne's Landing and Moultrie Creek. Not the Secretary of War.
Right. Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing that.
Right.
Right. So the Creek actually did it the right way. The Creek actually went to that nation, which would be the United States government, and said, "It's gonna be good with you, not your rogue military."
Right.
Correct. Correct.
You follow me? So that gives them.
Your audio is doing something. Are you hearing that, Chief Biko?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
Maybe you need to turn it down some.
That's my audio?
Yeah,
Okay, let me see.
it's static.
Really?
it's good right there.
You sound okay now when you just said something.
Okay, mic check. How about now?
Sounds
good.
fine now.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, that's what I'm taking from this is the Creek. They kind of did an underhand deal. They went directly to the United States government, whereas the Seminole Nation, based on the 2 treaties we read, They were contracting directly with the military. So
Or maybe they're just learning from the past mistakes. Could that be what it is? Or
no, because
no?
we're talking slimy right now. We're talking war. So I can see
Oh, okay.
the Creek kind of pulling big brother on everybody when they get out to Oklahoma, because the Creek know that they got documentation directly from the United States.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Everybody else, when they're showing their treaty, like, hey, I'm supposed to have this area, he can look at
Right.
it and say, oh yeah, you got that. What am I trying to say? What you I don't know what y'all generation call fake stuff, but
Fugazi.
yeah, fugazi. You know, I don't know. You got Colonel signing your treaties. I don't know what you think you got going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean,
Okay.
Okay. But no, that makes a lot of sense, because yeah, that is the first time we're seeing the Secretary of War actually being involved in a treaty. Let me see, where did I stop off here? States, okay. And not possessed by the Choctaws or Cherokees. And the United States agreed to purchase for them if the same can conveniently be done upon reasonable terms, wherever they may select a country whose extent shall, in the opinion of the president, be proportioned to their numbers. And if such purchase cannot be thus made, it is then agreed that the selection shall be made where the president may think proper, just reference being had to the wishes of the okay, here we go. Go back up and read the last one. And if such purchase cannot be thus made, it is then agreed that the selection shall be made where the president may think proper, just reference being had to the wishes of the immigrating party. Okay, so it looks like they'll be giving them land proportionate to how many actual Creek members go west of the Mississippi. And if that isn't sufficient, then the president will pretty much decide on how much land will be, or how much extra land will be given to the nation. Y'all thoughts on that one?
if you highlight that where it says, and the United States agree to purchase for them, and come all the way down to where it says shall be made where the president may think proper. Okay, so this is a whole bunch of nothing, basically, the way I look at it. So, and the United States agreed to purchase for them if the same can conveniently be done upon reasonable terms. What are the reasonable
Whose term? Right.
terms? Yeah, what's your reasonable terms, right?
Yeah.
Wherever they may select a country whose extent shall, in the opinion of the president, be portioned to their numbers. So wherever you go, it's up to the opinion of the president based on how many of y'all going there, whether or not the United States government gonna purchase that land for you, right?
Gotcha.
Was giving more power to the government, to the president, basically.
Yeah.
And if such purchase cannot be thus made, it is then agreed that the selection shall be made where the president may think proper. So you got reasonable terms that you don't know what those reasonable terms are, you know, that the president has, right? Of the United States. Then it's going to be proportioned to your numbers. You might be too deep coming from the Creek Confederacy, coming from Alabama. It may be too many of y'all. So they're going to go where the president deems necessary.
Yeah.
This was just a horrible, that's what I get from it. It's a whole bunch of nothing.
Empty promises, basically.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going when you get out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, like Chief Whitewater said, it's pretty much up to the president. How you
And
feel pretty much that day.
let me add one more thing in there since we're talking about prisoners of war. What if your numbers are too large and the president of the United States says, well, 500 of y'all want this area. I'll give it to 2. What happens to the other 3?
Mhm.
Would they end up going to prisoner of war concentration camps?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because we're not using the word plantation no more, because these weren't plantations. These were prisoner of war camps. What's the word I'm looking for? Concentration camp. These were concentration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got your living quarters and all of that, but I'm gonna throw a movie reference in here, even though I don't like to use movie reference, but it's like the movie Life with the gun range, the gun line, boss. Yeah, when you a prisoner of war, you got the gun line. You can only go so far before they shoot you and kill you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So was that really slavery, or were you just military occupied?
Yeah.
Militarily occupied.
Definitely military occupation, especially since we know these are 2 warring nations at that. They were at war with each other. Let's see, begin here. And whereas the Creek Americans, aforesaid, did send 5 persons as delegates to explore the country pointed out to them by their treaty, which delegates selected a country west of the territory of Arkansas, lying and being along in between the Verdigris, Arkansas, and Canadian rivers. And to the country thus selected, a party of the Creek Americans immigrated the following year. And whereas certain articles of treaty or convention were concluded at the city of Washington on the 6th day of May, 1828, by and then James Barber, Secretary of War on behalf of the United States. So again, it's again that Secretary of the United States just pretty much establishing it as a valid treaty, unlike the other 2 that we read. And it also seems here that they are pretty much marking out their territory, again, marking out that concentration camp that they'll be moving to. Let's see here. The following year.
And we can, just to throw in, we can clearly see how the Civil War is going to start, because you got the United States government making treaties, and then you got the military making its own treaties. So they're both simultaneously claiming land. So this had nothing to do with freeing prisoners of war.
Wow.
Yeah, that Civil War had nothing to do with freeing prisoners of war. This was a rogue military going into fake treaty.
Right, right.
Millions of people. So here we go. There is no law. Why is there no law? Because your military wasn't government. So then, now I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when we go through the Civil War, how can the United States government then turn around and claim all land that the military had went into treaty with nations with? No, those weren't valid treaties. This whole thing is a lie. Y'all with me?
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Perfect
They're
sense.
2 different parties creating treaties with the same group, pretty much.
Right. So they were basically fighting among themselves.
Fighting for those rights.
I wouldn't say they were fighting amongst themselves. I would now you're dealing with people who are from Europe that are claiming to be American. You're dealing with liars. That was a part of the play the whole time. Whoever conquers it first, it's still all the same team.
Got you.
Make it seem like we're fighting amongst ourselves, but
okay,
hey, we both win because we occupying foreign land. What you think that we were fighting amongst ourselves? In reality, we just captured the whole landmass.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Which is why at the end of the Civil War, there is no treaty at the end of that war. And none of the military officers were killed for treason. It lets you know it's almost like picking you up, Chief Deco, on your payday And like, you straight? You got paid today? You like, yeah. And then we like, okay, we gonna hang out today. And mysteriously we get to a gas station and you get robbed.
Mm.
Like, what happened, man? Dang, what? That's kind of what European is doing us. It's like, oh yeah, we had a civil war, and it was really it was a plan the whole time.
Right.
Damn.
Wow.
That makes sense though.
If y'all see something different, let me know. But that's what I'm seeing. Is this because this? Y'all tell me what y'all. That's what I see.
I mean, yeah, pretty much that's what it is now that you've kind of made it a little bit more clearer to me. But yeah, they had it planned from the beginning. And like you said, at the end of the day, both sides would win because they are claiming land that's not there. So the end goal, they had a common end goal, basically.
Correct. No, I agree with that one. I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Off to the United States. All right. And certain chiefs and headmen of the Cherokee Nation of Americans, by the second article of which convention a country was assigned to the Cherokee Americans aforesaid, including within its boundaries some of the lands previously selected and claimed by the Creek Americans under their treaty aforesaid. And whereas the President of the Senate of the United States, the President and the Senate of the United States, for the purpose of protecting the rights secured to the Creek Americans by their treaty stipulations and with a view to prevent collision and misunderstanding between the two nations, ratified and confirmed Cherokee Treaty on the 28th day of May 1828 with the following proviso. But prior to that,
Yeah, we reading a
kind
lot.
of seems like they were pitting the two nations against each other as far as the Cherokee Nation as well as the Creek. Again, as we just mentioned, they were pretty much going into business with both of them in regard and giving them the same land, the same territory. But it seems like they actually ratified, or one was actually legit because we have we the people, which is the Senate and the President actually ratifying the Cherokee's treaty. So that kind of just goes back to what we were saying as far as us going into treaties with the military.
I think he froze.
Valid according to the Constitution or their Constitution, because no, the same my internet connection. Did you get that, Chief Alligator?
Correct. Yeah, what they're doing is the same thing they did in the Treaty of Payne's Landing, where they took Seminole and Creek and put them together in Oklahoma. That's what the military did. Now you can also see the United States government doing something similar with two separate nations now. So we know the Seminole and the Creek were combined during the Treaty of Payne's Landing. Now, during the Treaty of Fort Gibson, the United States government is going to combine Cherokee and Creek. Yep. Let's see what the provisions were for that.
Okay. All right, with the following proviso, provided nevertheless that the said convention shall not be so construed as to extend the northern boundary of the perpetual outlet west provided for and guaranteed in the second article of said convention, north of the 36th degree of north latitude, or so as to interfere with the lands assigned or to be assigned west of the Mississippi River to the Creek Americans who have immigrated or may immigrate from the state of Georgia and Alabama under the provisions of any treaty or treaties heretofore concluded between the United States and the Creek tribe of Americans. So that's a lot there. It seems they're pretty much setting out the boundaries of which they'll be able to establish their own land. And it also seems here that they kind of already have everything else marked out for the other nations that will be coming west of the Mississippi as well. Let me see.
So again, it's like they had things planned from from the beginning. They knew what their end goal was going to be, and they executed basically.
Right, correct. It seems like to me still like that point of the treaties signed with the military was just to pretty much round them up. Because I believe they even kind of let them have like certain areas of land, or said they would have certain areas of land, but it seems like the United States is superseding those and just saying like, no, you'll have this designated area. And pretty much the other area is already claimed for because we have everything marked off how we want to.
Right. So now we can tie Dr. Claude Anderson back in right here. Based on this treaty, we know that Americans were specifically coming out of what? Georgia and Alabama. Right? We already know that with the Trail of Tears, that they were sending everybody in the Creek Confederacy, which is southeast region of North America, they were sending them into Oklahoma. This just further confirms that everybody who's ancestor or our lineage, everybody on this channel, our lineage goes back to the Creek Confederacy. So because we're prisoners of war, we're on the outside of these 5 civilized tribes and the United States government. Because we're on the outside looking in, we could care less about their infighting. One of the things I've heard recently is the people in Oklahoma, they claim to be the real nations, right? Of the Seminole, Choctaw, Creek, Cherokee, right? That's their claim to fame. They act as if, oh yeah, everything in Oklahoma, this is the original. But we're reading the treaties and we're seeing that's a bold-faced lie.
Right.
Those nations were in the Creek Confederacy.
Right.
So it's almost like a battle royal. We're going to have issues with our family that sold out and went into Oklahoma because they're acting as if they're better than. When in reality, those were bands of us that were forced to go. Those of us that didn't go, our ancestors fought. That's point blank, period, right?
Right.
Then you got those of us who figured this out and they what am I trying to say? They denounced their US citizenship and renationalized based on their lineage, like a Dr. Claude Anderson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back, but you never tell the prisoners of war that, or the Black people that. And then you got the European military occupying you. So it's 3. So prisoners of war got 3 people they're fighting against. They're fighting against their people in Oklahoma who want to act like this is not part of the story. You got a group of us that are nationalizing, that aren't telling the people, they're still promoting the slave narrative, right? And then you got the European who's military occupying all of us.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, we're gonna have to address a lot of things coming out of this once all the truth gets laid out. So I was just reading we're saying that the new government was established in 1866. So like you stated, that they're the real Creeks, or the real whichever nation was specifically for the Creek. If they established in 1866, then who are these people contracting in 1833? Like something ain't adding up here.
And we're not going to get into their politics, but that is politics for those that have nationalized, right? We're looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, yes, we are family, right? The reality is, why are you treating us like the bastard kid when we're the realest ones in the family? Because we never ran.
Right.
You can dress it up any way you want, but bottom line is you ran.
Yeah.
We caught hell through Jim Crow, through convict leasing, through segregation, war on poverty, war on drugs, war on crime. Now we're dealing with an invisible war, the coronavirus. So,
yeah.
You know, yeah, it never stopped for us.
Great points, great points. Oh, we left off here. That means anybody want to pick up here? I believe it's right here. Yeah.
Where you at?
And here.
Okay. I do a little bit. We 10 after.
Okay. Well,
So-
shoot.
What's a good place to start? How far, if you scroll down, how much page is left?
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll finish that. You want to make a note, Chief Quiet Water, will we stopping?
Where are we stopping?
We stopped right after this highlighted area, United States and the Cree Tribe of Americans.
Okay.
All right, so that's on page 1.
This is the second page. Page 2. Yeah, United States and the Cree Tribe of Americans.
Okay.
So in my little closing statements for today, I would just say that there's going to be more people that we're going to be surprised that know this truth. We already know the people in Oklahoma up under the 5 civilized tribes. We know that, you know, you benefit from still having the language, still having the culture, but there's also prisoners of war who have found out this information, and it could just be through your family. The family's organized and you have family reunions. You could have grown up always knowing this. Kudos to you, right? But shame on anybody who know this information and you promoted religion or you promoted slavery, right? And you did not open the people's eyes and their minds to understand that you are the descendants of those people that created all these inventions that the world benefits off of. That would be where I am right now, is to make me think that I come from somewhere else and walk away from all these industries that we created. It's embarrassing. It's blasphemy. And for those that want to act like we're not family that are west of the Mississippi River, what percentage of income are you generating from the inventions and the industries that are American lineage?
Right.
think
Yeah, and I think that it's important for these agents or scholars, leaders, whatever you want to call them, to just be honest with people so that we can just get a grasp of this on a mass level and start making some kind of change, basically.
Correct.
QTV.
No, I'm in alignment with each of you. Definitely about time that, you know, we start holding the feet to the fire as well as a people. Like, what, got to disclose all this information for us to, you know, make the correct choice. You know, if you're benefiting financially from, you know, the propaganda of this slave narrative, when you know, in fact, yourself that your family didn't come from that, or this from African slave narrative, then shame on you. You got to be dealt with, man. And the only way to actually deal with it is actually confessing, you know, your wrongs, and then showing the way out of it as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, we can't just be emotional because we won't get anywhere with that. You ain't this, you ain't that. Okay, you did it. Now tell us how you did it, how we can get up out of here. The information that you've been hiding, that's going to benefit us all, because that's what we need. We've already been caught up in too much of the emotion hoo-ha for generations already. So it's time to just get answers and deal with it as we go.
Just one side note, if we can all share something in closing on this. This weekend makes 6 years since Mike Brown, second Million Man March in DC. And I happened to be there for that second Million Man March. And Farrakhan said something that weekend. And what he said was, go back to your respective homes and tell everybody, this was 6 years ago, do not spend money on European holidays. And he gave a list of all the companies that was raising money for these officers as they were killing our kids. And he said, stop spending money with them. Here we are 6 years later, and we still spend money with those major corporations that are funding these cops' supposed criminal trial. So if there's no criminal trial, they just walk off with the bag. But here we are 6 years later, after George Floyd, after 2020, and Congress just threw the George Floyd Act in the trash can 2 weeks ago, and nobody talks about it. It didn't go viral. You don't hear any of your preachers. Everybody who was outside last year generating income off of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor's death, Ahmaud Arbery death, Black Lives Matter, all these nonprofit organizations, all these preachers, Tamika Mallory, all these, they're not leaders, they're just puppets. Why are they not out now in full throttle? This is unacceptable. We're not.
Exactly.
All of that did not happen last year in vain.
Correct.
You got 20-year-olds right now that will probably never get a federal job because they got federal charges because they were out there protesting. You're not representing them free of charge. You're not bailing people out. You're not paying hospital bills. So what do y'all want to say on that? Here we are 6 years this weekend since Mike Brown in the second Million Man March. And Congress just recently put George Floyd in that. And everything we saw last year, you've got nothing in return. What do y'all want to say on that?
I mean, to me, it's just status quo, what's been going on again. And I think it just goes back to the point that we all have to come up with the plan, stick to it, and see it through to the end. And that's where our issues lie. We have no plan, and we're depending on these agents and these non-leaders to try to get us there, but we don't have a good foundation at this point to get to a level where we can all collectively work towards the end goal. Just like we just read, they had a collective, they had a common goal. They were both doing their things, on two different sides of the table, but their end goal was to claim somebody else's land, and that's exactly what they did. And we need to get on the same page to do that for our people.
I have to agree. I think this goes back to what we were just saying. People got to have their feet held to the fire. It starts with our folks. Like you stated, all the people that you just mentioned, the Black Lives Matter supposed to represent us. These different organizational groups, Urban League, different things of that nature. You don't hear anything about people being up in arms about the George Floyd Act being thrown out. Like it was news here one day, gone the next. I don't even think it had a week long of a newsworthy headline.
And it should have been as equal amount of outrage and all of that as it was. That's what we were marching for and protesting for back then. That's exactly what we were trying to get, some type of change. And that's just a slap in the face that literally they signed that away and nothing else is said about it.
And a damn thing from it. And then, like you said, our supposed leaders and representatives are quiet. Right. It's like, damn, y'all really are the enemy. Y'all the worst ones. You want to act like you with us in the first place and turn around and be quiet as fuck. Like, don't even come out in the first place. Just sit your ass down. That way we can put the real people that's going to be doing work in position to do some work. Because you got all this, meet up here with the Black Lives Matter, meet up here, we going to protest. But then when it's time to actually say, oh no, we need that bill back on here. No, ain't no throwing it out. We're going to be here every goddamn day until y'all sign this. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. So it's like, what was y'all agenda? We know what it was, financial gain. Let's get as much backing as we can, get our stuff out our pockets. We don't really give a damn about these families. And we're going to go about our day, duck off like we've been doing for the past, 50 years. So again, we got to hold these feet to the fire. And then it starts with, us. We got to hold them accountable. Nobody else is.
It's a sick game, what you just said. If you go biblical, the shepherd leads the sheep. The shepherd are your fake activists, your fake political leaders, your fake clergy leaders. When the natives get restless, they put them out in front of us. They extract the energy by getting you to march protests. Any proceeds that come in go through their nonprofit entity, which is tax-free. And so they capitalize off of prisoners of war being done a certain type of way. And they expect you to be childlike in your mentality. And they feel like if they don't put it in your face, you won't remember what happened. You know what I'm saying? It's like a child, right?
Yeah.
Child don't see candy, he don't want candy. So they feel like as long as we don't put in their face that the George Floyd Act was thrown in the trash can, they forget that everything that happened last year, you got nothing for it.
Exactly.
Nothing. Nothing has changed. It's standard operating procedure right now. You can get killed tonight. Says, I fear for my life.
And that's it.
That's been
That's all
going
you
on.
gotta say.
How many murders have we seen since Mike Brown?
A lot.
Yeah.
So we went over a little bit. I just wanted to just throw that in. That's just shout out to Mike Brown, and just for us to look at the trend and see we're getting worse. And so there is no law. The treaties show that, and January 6th shows that. When you can let a group of people commit the highest crimes on the land, and there was no mass deaths, there was no mass manhunts. If you won't enforce the highest law on the land being violated, miss me with your ordinances, your codes, your stat, there is no law. Realize there is no law. And then they threw out the George Floyd Act. So this is operating procedure for a cop to fear for his life and shoot you on video with a body cam on, and nothing happens. So I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get there, but there is no law.
Right. Right.